welcome back to another story time with your favorite basement dweller, Mio. Today we have a kind of juicy horror story for you guys. Today's story is going to be about yours truly, and I think this was my second regional ever, so this is going to be another regional horror story. And this is an unscripted video, so I'm just going to try to remember absolutely everything that I possibly can, because this event happened quite a few years ago. Like I said, it was only my second regional ever, and I started playing in 2017. It's now 2022. You can imagine I've been to a few regionals. Before we get into the story, really fast, I want to say that this story has no representation on the community as a whole. This story is about the most embarrassing thing that has happened to me at a regional, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen to you or that it even is in the realm of possibilities of it happening to you. I have heard other people have Yu-Gi-Oh horror stories of their own, but I want to say that this does not reflect on the Yu-Gi-Oh community. This is just an event that just happened. And I don't want this to be taken in any, oh, this is another Yu-Gi-Oh girl story about how blah 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 happened to her and beware the Yu-Gi-Oh community. I don't want to bring in that negative stereotype, especially since the game has been growing so much in the past 2 years especially. A lot of the female player base are starting to become, more front forward. They're becoming Yu-Gi-Tubers, they're becoming streamers, or they're just posting onto their social medias being like, yeah, I actually enjoy the game as well. I don't want this to be a step backwards in the community as another negative stereotypical story. This is just something that I think is funny, and I hope you guys will find some humor in it as well. So really quickly, before we get into the story itself, be sure to check out my links down below. I have an Instagram, you can stalk me on there. I also have a few things out on Teespring, so you can get some Nubbins merch, or you can get some Queen Mio merch, as I am calling it. Yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, so hopefully I'm not too washed out. Unlike last time, this is not a Yu-Gi-Oh horror story at night video. It is very, very, very sunny and incredibly hot and humid. It is in the 90s Fahrenheit. I can't off the top of my head calculate that in Celsius, but it's hot. And so I might be a little pasty looking or washed out because the sun hates me, but hopefully this is good. Into the story. Once upon a time, in distant years past, many formats ago, is this cringy yet? No, I had gone to one other regional before this for sure, and it went really well. I didn't play because I was still learning how to play the game, and I had decks of my own, but the closest one I had to being playable wasn't finished, so I was too nervous and too anxious to play at a bigger event other than locals, and so I decided not to play. But I enjoyed the scene, I enjoyed talking to people, I enjoyed interacting with everyone, so much so that I didn't mind just hanging out for the most part. So when regional number 2 came up, I still wasn't prepared to play, and I decided to sit it out, but I had lots of people that recognized me from being there before, and people from locals as well, and so I got to talk a lot to people. One of my favorite things to do at regionals is meet new people. Sometimes I'll just play casual games with them too. ADHD moment, little sidetrack. There was a regional where I brought Speedroids and Midolches because at the time those two decks were so evenly matched that there was no way to tell who would win. And I taught somebody how to play Speedroids. So I enjoy just going to events even if I'm not going to play within the event. And I enjoy talking to people, which is the setup for today's horror story. Every now and again when I go to an event outside of locals where people don't know me as an individual but they're seeing me for the first time ever, sometimes I'll notice I get some looks. Some are more off-putting, some are more just, oh look, it's a person, and most of the time most people don't even notice I'm there. So It's not like, oh, she walked into a room. Hello, you know? It's more like every now and then I get some come hither looks, but for the most part I get, oh, I really dig her style kind of looks, or hey, I think I recognize that chick, but I can't tell, you know? But for the most part, like the large majority of people at events just completely ignore my existence, which is perfect since I am an introvert. However, this particular event, for the first, I want to say maybe 5 rounds, there are 9 rounds at the regional that we go to. I know it was at least the first 3 matches. I noticed there was this particular person sitting maybe a few feet away from me, because I was dedicated to sit next to all the bags and watch all the stuff and watch people's phone charges and make sure nobody stole any of their cards and stuff. So I had like a dedicated little corner with like an outlet and everything. And a few feet down there was a guy who was kind of sitting there alone. And I think every once in a while I saw like maybe 1 or 2 people go up to him. But the reason I noticed him wasn't because he was sitting next to me. It was because every single time I got up to leave or I was just kind of sitting there minding my own business, I noticed that he would stare at me in kind of like a daydreamy kind of stare, if you know what I mean. And I kind of ignored it because I don't like to assume what people think. And so I just kind of went out about my own business thinking, oh, maybe they might recognize me, or maybe they're just looking around because I catch myself randomly staring at people too, but it's just an ADHD thing. Like, I'm not actually looking at the person, I'm just staring at the colors or the shape or the movement, you know? It's like a distraction kind of thing. So I was like, maybe they're not looking at me. But it was the amount of times that his eyes would like trace me walking by and his head would turn and everything. So I did notice, however, I chose to be kind of ignorant about it. And at one point, my boyfriend and friends left to go do their matches, and he came up to me and said hi, and I said hello, and I tried to be friendly. But I was like, who is this? Why are you talking to me? Because I don't think I even had my channel at the time. So there was no way he recognized who I was unless he went to locals with me. And he started talking about the strangest but most interesting things. Like, it wasn't flirting topics, it was like topics about, like, it was like deep discussions about religion or mathematics or just history. And I'm like a total nerd and I absolutely love that stuff. So like, I've had this really intense, deep conversation every time a game started for 40 minutes or so, until like my friends or my boyfriend would come back, and I would then go off and be like, okay, well, bye, gotta go say hi to them, see how they're doing, you know? And then each time he would walk back up to me and start a completely different conversation. But I genuinely enjoyed talking to him, so I thought maybe he just thought I looked interesting and, you know, wanted a friend. I should state, at the time, I was like, I think I was 18. So my experience with like flirting and stuff was like non-existent at all. I get told that I have a flirtatious personality pretty naturally, but the truth is I'm just nice and bubbly when I'm not super nervous. So I don't really know how to recognize when people are flirting with me, and I'm not even sure I know how to flirt, to be honest. So I didn't see anything wrong with the conversations we were having. However, all of my friends and my boyfriend noticed us talking, and apparently they said that he was looking at me differently, and that he obviously had the hots for me, right? And I told them no. I mean, we were just talking, you know, the way other people talk. And at one point he asked me if my boyfriend was my boyfriend. And, you know, I said yes. And he was like, that's a lucky man. And I, you know, was like, well, thanks, you know. And we started talking about, like, relationships. And he got on the topic of, like, his ex at one point. And we just kind of, like, talked about, like, you know, feelings and how relationships can be hard sometimes, blah, 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 blah. And my boyfriend comes back. And he is just so peeved. Like, just absolutely angry, you know? I can tell he lost a duel really badly. And it was most likely due to, like, either cheating or I don't even know. I think time was a thing around then. I think. I can't remember. But something happened, you know? And so I go up to try to comfort him. And the way that I comfort him is I ask him about what happened. I let him vent. And if you guys remember from my dealing with anger in Yugioh or in Yugioh video, I actually did talk about this moment in particular, about how, like, I'll shuffle his cards, I'll make him draw a hand and play it out, and most of the time he ends up drawing better hands than what he saw before. This was one of those times. He told me about how he bricked really hard and just wasn't seeing the cards that he needed. So I reshuffled his deck, gave it a kiss, wished him luck, and he started drawing really good. Because, you know, I don't know, heart of the cards, I guess. And he started to calm down a little. There was still like 20 or so minutes left on the clock. I mean, it was a good amount of time. So all of our friends were still playing, but for some reason, the guy I was chatting with decides this is a good opportunity to go talk to my boyfriend. And guys, it is so awkward to tell you what happened next. And you could probably already guessed. He walked up to my boyfriend. Boyfriend's already upset. Boyfriend already doesn't like this guy talking to his girlfriend because he thinks he's flirting with her. And new guy that the girlfriend is talking to says, hey, can I challenge you to a duel? Let that sink in a little. It is, to this day, the cringiest thing that has happened to me in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the reason I say it's to me, it also is probably the cringiest thing that happened to him, to my boyfriend. I don't know. But the reason I say to me is because of what happens next. My upset, jealous boyfriend angrily is just like, whatever, sure. He's like, this is dumb, but I have time to kill. This guy goes and gets his deck, and for the life of me, I don't remember what he was playing. I'm pretty sure that my boyfriend was playing Invoked something. It was probably Invoke Mech Knights or something like that. And the whole time that they're dueling, the guy I was talking to keeps looking up at me and, like, kind of eyeing me with, like, this, like, kind of silly grin on his face. Like, not like, hey, I'm having a good time kind of grin, but like, did you see what I just did kind of grin? Look at me. And I was like, something's weird here. My boyfriend ended up beating him really badly and really quickly. And then he packed all his stuff up and went off to go talk to his friends, blow off some steam. And the guy I was talking to sits on the floor next to me, and he is like, wow, your boyfriend's really good at the game. And I was like, yeah, well, I mean, he's not the best, but he tries really hard, and I think he's really good at the game, because I didn't really, like, know Yu-Gi-Oh! Too well, and to this day I still think he's pretty good at the game, you know? You gotta cheer your partners on, and your friends. But he, like, compliments my boyfriend for a bit, and then says, I don't want this to be out of line, but I really like you. And if you ever change your mind about him, I can give you my phone number. And it was at that moment that I realized this guy challenged my boyfriend to a duel over my heart. Like the anime. I don't know why. I don't know what he was thinking. I know that he was like a year or two older than me. So he wasn't like, you know, super mature, at least, you know, age-wise. But I just... To this day, I have a hard time thinking that the boys I went to this regional with were right the whole time, and that this guy decided the best way to hit on me would be to challenge my boyfriend to a duel. I just think it's so stupid. Like, it was cute. It was sweet. I mean, it was kind of adorable. But also, like, we had just met like only a few hours earlier. I have a relationship. It was obvious enough for him to ask me if that person in specific was my partner, you know? So obviously we were partners. It wasn't like a secret. But yeah, that was the most embarrassing and most cringy thing that has happened to me at a regional so far. But you can never know. Maybe something even worse will happen in the future. Then I have more stories to tell you guys. All in all, to this day, it's still a big joke within our friend group. I do feel bad. To be honest, I hope the guy that was there back then doesn't see this video, because I don't like spilling secrets or whatever, or embarrassing things about people. But the truth is that it was funny. To this day, it's one of my favorite memories because I just think it's so silly. And I don't know, like, I never noticed, because how could a simple, like, everyday conversation be flirting? I don't know. I just didn't see it until he, like, straight up went, "I think you're hot," you know? If he does watch this, thank you so much for the memory. I will cherish it forever, and I will always think back to it when I need a good laugh. And thank you for being so kind to me and for talking to me and keeping me company. It was very sweet of you, and I hope you're doing well. But yes, that wraps up today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Horror story. If you'd like to see more, please give this a like, consider subscribing, and definitely leave a comment down below either sharing your Yu-Gi-Oh! Horror story or your reaction to this Yu-Gi-Oh! Horror story. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Keep dueling, keep collecting, keep playing. Bye.